You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
Well, I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. Just as a heads up, this is all we're going to be doing today. I'll probably post this in the morning so you can figure that out, but had a lot of technical issues. I actually went out and bought a new mixer. It was driving me nuts. This thing I thought was broke forever, and I didn't realize how many features and things I was taking for granted. Bottom line, I got this thing working again, the original one, and instead of being really upset about having technical issues and getting a really late start, I'm in a very good mood. So I'm so happy it's back, and I love this thing more than ever. All right, let's get started. By the way, the plan for today was supposed to be, which we'll have to do tomorrow, but the plan is we're going to start going through the positions and just kind of doing a season in review. So we'll start with the quarterback. We'll go through the wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, et cetera. Kind of looking at a 30,000 foot, going through all the different statistics and seeing where guys ranked and trying to get as in-depth as we possibly can. That'll help us as we kind of move into the next phase of what do we really need. Maybe can answer a few more questions on what went wrong, but more so just free agency and the draft. What do we need? We'll probably follow that up with some contract stuff so that we can really finish that out. But that is the plan. All right. Beer Cheese Benny, what's going on, man?
Hey, Ryan, Beer Cheese Benny here.
Hey.
Just wanted to give you my thoughts on something. So the defense, obviously being in a new scheme this year, did really well. I know it's kind of hard to transition from a 3-4 to 4-3, and I think a lot of the guys bought in. They really did. And you could see that it was apparent in the playoff game, too, that everyone was buying in, and they believed in it, and they did their job, they did their assignments. So I can only believe that the defense will be so much better next year when they maybe add pieces or, just mature in the scheme. But I don't know if we can say that for the offense. Do we need to change the scheme? Do we need to just start doing more or subtracting things? What do we need to do for those players on offense to start buying in and start playing like their defense, like just ball out? I mean, I know you can't obviously ball out every time because the defense is there, but you get what I'm saying. So I just wonder what we would need to do, but obviously besides adding pieces like, and maybe Marshawn Lloyd comes back and that ends up being huge for us, and like he ends up. I still love Emmanuel Wilson. I don't want to get rid of him. But like if Marshawn Lloyd, if we have a trio of backs that can do it, that'd be great for the running game. And obviously Jacobs, we know he's a baller.
Well, yeah. I mean, again, I don't know how to answer this question. I just don't. I know that we've seen it working, so there's every reason to believe they can get it working again. But I don't know the answer to why it's not working. I don't think it's the running backs, because I think that's one of the few things that was pretty consistently working. And if it wasn't, I generally blame the offensive line. Maybe that's unfair. I don't know. But I can't imagine Marshawn Lloyd makes such a big impact, because he's just that much better than Josh Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson, who I thought did a phenomenal job.
But, and then we're going to add receiver probably, maybe, I don't know. But even if we don't, what are some things that we can start doing that are going to make this better? And obviously, most of the changes on Jordan Love playing better, really. And, LaFleur talks about he wants to see Love be more of a vocal leader. And, I really didn't think about it until he said it, but he's right, man. You see Love on the sideline, he's not really talking to his guys. Like, he just kind of looks at the iPad and is like, sees what went wrong, but, like, he needs to start communicating with people on the sideline. Like, hey, man, we need to do this. Or, like, because we find out in the press conference that, this guy ran the wrong route, or he was supposed to go, 20 yards deeper or whatever, or, 5 more yards deep, whatever, stuff like that. So, I don't know, it just seems apparent that Love's not really communicate these kind of things. And I guess, obviously he's really respected. You can tell that from what people, all the receivers and offense say about him. But I think, him being a vocal leader can really help this team, man. And maybe that's what it's going to take. Maybe he's just got to be a little bit, work on his footwork. And hopefully, Tom Clement's retired, so that sucks. So hopefully the new quarterback coach can kind of work on things with his footwork, help him get better. But, yeah, man, being a vocal leader could definitely help. But I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you?
Well, I don't think it could hurt. I mean, just from the standpoint of motivation. I mean, they need somebody that can get him in there and get him in the right frame of mind. It feels like the Packers for a very long time have been sort of it's your own responsibility to make sure you're ready to go. And I've said before, I sympathize with that, but at the same time, I don't know that that's going to be as effective as having somebody that can actually rally the troops. And this goes back to even the Aaron Rodgers days, because that was kind of his mentality. I'm not your mommy. There is an expectation. I'm going to be there. I'm going to meet that expectation. Devontae and Bakhtiari, we're going to be there ready to put on the performance that we're supposed to, and I expect you to be there. There really hasn't been a big rah-rah guy on the team for kind of a long time. Again, it's not to say there aren't people that go about things the right way, that have the right attitude, that are respected, and all that. That there's just not that guy. I don't think that when they speak, everybody falls in line. Kind of like a Mercedes Lewis was when he was here. Maybe might be the last one I could remember. And Mercedes was a quiet guy. That was kind of the problem. He was very quiet, but when he did speak, everybody snapped to attention. Right? Julius Peppers, kind of a guy. The guys that are just, again, when they speak, people listen. And I think you're right, Matt LaFleur does want him to step into that role. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know that that's his personality, and I don't know that faking it is going to come through very well. But it'd be nice. I don't think it could hurt. Why not? Give it a shot, see what happens.
Howdy, this is Jared, the Uber driver from Texas.
What's up?
So it's Wednesday night. I'm probably behind on 2 of the Packernet After Dark episodes. Just catching up since, the loss. I probably didn't listen for about a day. Sorry about that, but I'm catching up. Don't worry. You'll still get listens from me. Don't worry.
Thanks.
But I don't know if you saw this. I'm sure you did. But Basarki went to the game, right? I think that's how you say his name. I'm not entirely sure. But, a pretty big YouTube Green Bay personality, and his fiance got just so many mean words toward him. Like the Philly fans don't deserve a Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
I agree.
What the heck was that crap? And I don't know if you also saw this, but he actually his company found out and fired him. I believe legitimately fired him, and that's crazy. He posted on TikTok, said, fired him. Yeah, because what he said to his fiance was not right. Like, it was uncalled for, just straight up. You don't do that to a person. But yeah, he got his just desserts for sure. So hey, there's a win for Packer Nation right there. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, it was pretty vile stuff, man. I don't know. I just it's disgusting stuff to say to a woman in general. Saying it to a guy about his fiance when you're surrounded by a bunch of big burly guys that are going to protect you, and you use that to your advantage. That's what's just so shockingly scummy about it. When you have that level of power and that's what you decide to use it for, that's crazy stuff. I don't know if it's true or not. I saw the job that he had gotten fired for was, I believe, like a DEI consultant, which is just ironic and like poetic justice. Because even if you don't like the whole like firing people because of, cancel culture or whatever you want to call it, which I understand, his job absolutely needed to fire him. Because I don't know that diversity, equity, and inclusion go along very well with his comments. Just Just saying, I feel like there's a conflict of interest a little bit there. By the way, I can kind of already tell that the audio is pretty low for the people speaking on the old podcast. I'll have to work on that tomorrow. I'm not going to do that today, so I'm going to move the mic away from me a little bit so that I'm a little quieter, so you can just crank it, hopefully, through the whole thing here.
Hey, this is Jared, the Uber driver again from Texas. Jared Schrader. Sorry about the call-in, then, because you had heard about it. Just heard about it on the podcast, so that's real funny. All right, well, I'm glad you knew about it. And yeah, that was a disgusting act by that dude. But hey, he got us just desserts, and I don't think he equals dessert Super Bowl anymore. You know, whatever happens, happens. Go back, go. Bye.
Yep, well, you know, goes around, what is the thing? What goes around, I know what the real thing is, but there's I don't know if it was The Office, never mind, it's ruined, it's over. Drew, what's up?
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay. So I spent all night watching defensive linemen and cut-ups of them, and all 22. And I was using Pro Football Focus's big board.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy that I think they have underrated that I'd be really interested in for us is Derek Harmon from Oregon. He's their 9th ranked.
Surprised how much that name has come up already. Clayton is the first one that mentioned it to me. I saw him pop up on like a little mock draft, sort of like wasn't really a mock draft. It was sort of like the top guys that the Packers are going to pick. I don't know if it was number 1 or number 2 was Harmon. I saw, I've seen it 2 or 3 other times, and now you're mentioning it. I did post a video, just one quick move. I went and watched him after Clayton mentioned it to me. And so I just took a little snippet, sent it to Clayton, and he's like, you should probably post that. But anyways, that's up there if you want to see it, just a nice little spin move. But he's picking up a lot of steam. I like that there's these guys. The downside is we're all going to love like 3, 4, 5, 6 of these guys, right? There's going to be a handful that every like Cooper DeJean type of guys that we really want to pick in the first round. The Packers will more than likely pick 0 of them. They almost never pick the guys that we want in the first round. I think Devontae Wyatt is about the only time anybody that I wanted, and it wasn't even like universal. It was more of a me thing. But the downside is they're probably not going to pick any of them, and even if they do, some of the guys that we like are going to be very good, and they're going to get picked by somebody else, and that's what's going to suck. But that's a problem for a year from now. For now, it's just kind of cool to start to develop these like, ooh, yeah, okay, picking up a little bit of steam here. And he's I'm surprised because there's a couple corners that I'm just starting to dig into a little bit. I haven't heard as much steam, but this guy for sure is getting a ton.
Interior defensive lineman, 83rd overall on the big board. But personally, he's my 2nd overall defensive lineman. So I see a little problem with back-end pursuit, but I think that's because he plays a lot of plays. But yeah, he doesn't necessarily chase down every play all the way down to the boundary. But outside of that,
did notice that
he's pretty stout. He can shed blocks pretty well. He's got some pass rush ability. So I don't know. I think, picking where we are, I think when he goes through the draft process and, into the combine, that he's going to start rising up. And I think that the end of the first or maybe even 2nd round, we'll see where he ends up. But maybe a trade down or trade up in the 2nd round to grab him if we have to. That'd be an interesting guy. He is a true 3-tech. That's where he played most of his snaps. They did put him on edge a little bit, but he's really a 3-tech guy. He's like, I think 6'5", 310 pounds, something like that.
PFF has him at.
He's got nice size, and yeah, I really like him. Even when I watched Oregon live, I liked him. He just kind of jumped out without even watching all 22. So then when I went back, watched all 22, it's like, yeah, that's basically what I saw when I was watching the games. So, anyways, we'll see what you think of him. I know you got more access to PFF. I'm not a premium member, so it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say on that. Bye.
Yeah, so I got to go back. I got to watch this again. From what I can tell, I like what I've seen from him. I haven't done enough to kind of get my footing yet. Sometimes you just got to watch for a while, and for me anyways, because it's not a year-round endeavor, just to kind of get a baseline of what you're watching. One of the things I like to do is start from the bottom and work my way up, so you kind of see what not very good defensive tackles look like. And the first 5 or so you watch, you're just like, I don't know, dude. They're all just kind of the same. They whatever. And then as you get closer, you're like, okay, all right, now I see what makes these guys pretty good at football. Otherwise, you start from the top and everything's just, that becomes the best in college football becomes your baseline, and it's like, everybody sucks. But yeah, man, I mean, he seems quick for 310 for sure. You see him, I know Halfley likes to stunt guys around, and I do see him lined up on the end here. Oh, jeez, like that play right there. Jumps to the end. I mean, so he lines up as a defensive end on the left side, swings to the inside, gets north toward the quarterback really fast. Just a really, really nice job. And it's cool because it reminds me of what Halfley likes to do. Where you come in, you attack the guard who's not really ready for you, blast him from the side, and then get up north. And, the speed is certainly there. Really nice run defense on that one. Wasn't really budged. Yeah, I mean, defensive tackle is not it's not on my radar as a top thing. But like we've been saying, man, I really hope Gutekunst can just get a stud. If it's a stud defensive, like get another Edgerrin Cooper. If it's a defensive tackle, if it's a corner, if it's an edge, whatever it is, man, it's worth it. I couldn't care less. Tight end, wide receiver, guard, center, tackle, I don't care. Any top-tier player is going to be one that I want. So if they think that this is that dude, I will absolutely take that any day of the week. But yeah, I'm just kind of peeking as we're going here. And I agree with what you said. I mean, he's not going to chase guys down the field or anything. It's kind of I did my job, which usually is somewhat frowned upon. But I think for the bigger boys, it's maybe a little bit more expected, even in the pros. It's if the corners are huffing it down the field to get them, I don't think defensive tackles are going to do much more than jog. But anyways, yeah, if you haven't had a chance to check him out, I would encourage you to, because just preliminarily, he's the guy that has the most buzz that I've heard so far among Packer fans. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got some more Drew from Green Bay.
Hey Ryan, it's Drew from Green Bay again. I just finished your podcast about at the end you were talking about people getting into the draft, and
yeah,
I think it was Beer Cheese Benny that called in, and I've been following the draft for over 20 years now, pretty in depth. And one thing I would say is if people want to get into it, it is super fun.
It is.
And, you can bring a whole new element to your fandom, but it can be overwhelming at first. So I would just say in your first year, if you want to just limit it to the first round, which is the most exciting round anyways, then just, find a list of the top 50 players and watch 1 to 2, little cut-ups of the top 50 players. And that'll get you every player in the first round and a lot of players in the second round. And those are all going to be the biggest players that, make an impact in the NFL anyways. And you'll have some gems after that. But really, the top 50 is like a huge cutoff. So it really doesn't take that long. If you say you spend 10 minutes a player, 50 players, 500 minutes, like, that's not that long over the course of a couple months.
Yeah.
And occupies your time, and then you can have a lot of fun debates, and you can do mock drafts, and, I would separate, players by position, and then rank them as well. So, overall, so, put all the positions together in a big board, but also separate them. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I would encourage everybody else to get into it as well, because once people get into the draft, I don't know too many people who get into it and then get bored of it. Like, people become fanatics about it because it's that much fun. So, I hope everybody else gets into it and we can build the draft community, especially for the Packers. All right, bye.
I agree. I mean, it's up there with fantasy football. If you're a fantasy football person, I'm sure you can imagine or remember when you first got into fantasy and how it just kind of took over and became like a huge thing for a lot of people, especially with fantasy football. It becomes, more important than football itself. I used to be that way with that, not as much anymore. But the draft absolutely can be that way. So yeah, I would agree. And, I've got the Facebook group. I don't even know what it's called, NFL Draft Super Fans or something like that. But yeah, you get in there and or NFL Mock Draft is really all it is. And it's just people posting mock drafts 24/7 and then yelling at each other about how stupid they are. That's the one downside, is people are just going to tell you you're an idiot if you post mock drafts. Draft people are pretty condescending jagoffs, but it is fun nonetheless. Like you said, if you just start with the simplest, and I mean, you could even just focus on, like the top 50 makes sense, but you wouldn't need to look at quarterbacks. You could narrow it down to positions that you care about. So let's see if I still have it up here. If we just look at the top prospects, you wouldn't need to look at hardly any of the super top ones unless you just felt like it. Like, you don't need to look at Travis Hunter because he's going to be long gone. Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, well, a lot of these guys are going to be gone. So you could start looking at, be optimistic here, say Michael Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia, James Pierce, edge rusher out of Tennessee, Luther Burden, wide receiver, Tyler Warren, tight end, Jalen Walker, linebacker. Just kind of go through, maybe not even Jalen Walker, linebacker. I don't think we're taking another Georgia linebacker in the first round. I freaking better not. A lot of edge rushers, offensive line, tight end, whatever. And yeah, if you just pick those, go to maybe the top 50, or just, you don't even need to set a number. Just pick a position you want to watch. Some of them are more fun than others. Running back is, I think everybody loves that, but I don't know if we're going to be prioritizing that. Wide receiver is always fun. Some of them are a little bit more tricky, cornerback and stuff, because it's not going to be, unless you have all 22, could be a little trickier. Save for wide receiver, technically, I guess, but it's still fun. And you can just go, like I said, go to look at highlights on YouTube, or just go to, type in Isaiah Bond verse, and it'll just pop up different school performances, and they just do cut-ups of only plays that those guys were in. So just try it out. It's a good time. You'll like it. And if you don't, then I don't know. I appreciate you hanging out nonetheless. Uncle Rico, what's up?
Yo, Brian, it's your Uncle Rico.
Hey.
Oh, I said a comment. I was listening to the pod, and one of the guys, I can't remember, somebody called in and said they should cut TJ Slayton to send a message because of his flub up on the first and foul. Well, we had cut Evan Williams loose and Lucas Van Ness as well, because Slayton's the number that got picked. Those two idiots didn't do anything different than he did. They all three were involved in an equal fashion. You can't just go chopping 3 players off your roster. I mean, yeah, something you got to figure it out. We need some discipline for sure, but TJ Slayton, as far as I'm concerned, we need TJ Slayton more than Lucas Van Ness, and I guess we'll find out about Williams, but he did get burned. And that's one thing. Another thing, Ryan, how does that work? These PFF grades really baffle me. I don't take much stock in them, since you said Evan Williams got credited with getting scored on twice, but yet he ends up with a 70-something PFF grade. How do these grades work? Do they mean a damn thing? Does PFF mean anything? you get scored on twice and you get a 70? What's going on?
I don't know.
Help me to understand. If PFF is, it's part of your show, and I'm glad you do it. It's content. But does it mean anything? Question mark. All right, dude. Rico out. Go Pack, go. 2025. Go Pack 2025. Later.
Only thing I can say is, again, it's PFF is always going to be somewhat of a consistency grade because the worst you can do is a -2. And so you figure those 2 touchdowns accounted for a -4. And that's it. It was a -4. And it's not going to be that hard over the course of the next 50 plays to make up for -4 when each play is at least a 0.5 increment. So you figure 8 kind of positive plays, 0.5 plays, make up for that. Or 4 1 play, or just, 2 positive 2 plays makes up for that. And so I've always said PFF is much more of a consistency thing, whereas fans would have a much wider scale. It would be like a 10-point scale, and a touchdown would be a -10. And if you give up 2 touchdowns, you're at -20, and your odds of ever recovering from that are basically 0. But that's not the scale they use, and so that would be the reason for that. I don't know. I think I missed what you were talking about with the other guys. Slayton, I know he went up and pushed the coach, or not pushed him. What was he, screaming at him, yelling at him, or something? I don't remember. It was the other team. It was a different team where he pushed the coach. But I don't think Van Ness did that, right? Maybe I just missed. Maybe I missed it. Missed what you were talking about entirely there. But no, I don't like Slayton, so I don't really care. I don't find him to be a very valuable addition, other than just a body to rotate. I mean, if the Packers can't replace Slayton with somebody in rounds 1 through 6, that's unfortunate, because they should be able to. I'm over the Slayton thing. I've been over it since day one. Just never really liked it. I've been kind of down on him because everybody was overhyping the guy, but now I'm just all the way out. He's never been a good football player for us ever. And, 330 pounds, the dude's never even been a good run defender. He had a little flash of being like a decent pass rusher, which is just like, give me a frickin' break. And that was about it. And now he's talking back to coaches and stuff. Nah. Give me Harmon, man. Bring Harmon in, get Slayton the heck out of here. It's enough is enough.
Hey, Ryan, it's Craig from Indiana.
Hey.
It's Thursday after the Packer loss. Starting to heal a little bit, but I made the mistake of watching something came through one of my feeds, and I clicked on it because it was about the Packers. It was Good Morning Football, and it's so weird that like almost all the highlights are bad referee calls. the kick return, the last throw in the end zone where there's clearly pass. It's just so hard to rewatch it. Anyway, it's weird that this year I feel worse about the team than I did last year. And there's probably a lot of us that are in that same boat. Even though the record was better, I think the team overall is more talented, especially with some of the rookies we got. But, last year I felt much more optimistic. I think part of it is losing 3 in a row, including to the Bears, wasn't great. And we didn't look good at all against Philadelphia. At least against San Francisco, we looked pretty good on occasion, and the game was kind of within reach. But I think also the other thing was just a disappointment in some of our younger guys taking a jump in their performance. So I don't know, maybe you can talk that who you thought did a great job of making a jump. I mean, Zach Tom, maybe. He was really good, though, last year. Kraft probably did. But I don't think any of the wide receivers seem significantly better to me this year than last year. Dayton did at the beginning of the year. Romeo had a couple games where he looked great. But I'm just trying to think of who really, and then Jordan I don't think did at all. So that's a disappointment. And now I get more concerned about next year, whether our rookies get better next year for us or our second or third year guys are making a leap. But yeah, I just don't feel quite as good as I did a year ago. I do like Hafley, like the defense and the scheme, and again, some of the guys on that side of the ball for sure, like Cooper and Evan Williams looked good early on. So there's some optimism there. But it'll be an interesting offseason. I'm glad we have lots of money and just need a couple of key folks in there, and probably call later when you're talking more about the draft of opinions around that, but probably pretty aligned with most folks. All right, take care. Thanks for everything you did, and look forward to the offseason with you. Take care.
Yeah, and I think that was a point that I had actually made at one point or another about the fact that they just, I don't think that anybody really grew. And that was kind of the reason why I think they're going to take the position that they are in the offseason. And that is, we kind of wanted to give everybody a chance to blossom, so to speak. And, you know, I don't know that anybody did. And so now it's, okay, we got to go out and find people, right? You know, are the wide receivers, like I said, Jaden Reed, is he going to step up? Now, he maybe didn't step back necessarily, but I don't think he took a step forward. Christian Watson didn't take a step forward. Romeo Dobbs and Dontavian Wicks didn't take a step forward. Musgrave didn't take a step forward. You mentioned Tucker, maybe a little bit, yeah, depending on how much you liked him last year, I guess. I mean, he had a bigger role, I suppose. Yeah, I think Tom is about the same guy. Rashid's the same guy. None of the offensive linemen really took a step forward, I don't think. I don't think anybody really on the team, to be honest. Maybe like Valentine, kind of. Again, Quay for a few games in just run defense. But yeah, it was pretty stagnant. Again, the defense did great as a unit, not necessarily any one certain individual kind of popping off, aside from the new additions like Edgerrin and McKinney, and the, you know, the rookies and whatnot. So yeah, I think at this point, Gutekunst is, well, crap. I was hoping somebody would kind of take a step so we could, you know, have a little bit of a clearer picture. But at this point, we just assume nobody does. Hope that somebody does, you know, year 3 or whatever. But we act accordingly, and that means, you know, we probably have to try to find that top-tier wide receiver. We got to find the corner and got to find an edge rusher. I think is probably going to be priority number 1. To be able to run the defense the way they want to run the defense. And like I said, just looking around the league right now, the teams that are kind of kicking the crap out of people in the postseason, it's a lot of pass rush going on, getting home with the front four and whatnot, especially the Rams. Good Lord. So that's my thought. But all right, let's take our final break. We'll get back with Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Hey, Ryan, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
What's up?
Just wanted to put in my 2 cents when it comes to just the whole coaching carousel thing, and when it comes to Green Bay's status right now with its coaching staff. You know, the news broke yesterday that Hafley has been tagged for an interview with the Jets. I don't know what to think about that. I was afraid of that. I mentioned that probably about 3 or 4 months ago in a call where I was like, I mentioned that what happens if Hafley does really great things with this defense, he's going to immediately get attention from other teams. And sure enough, you know, the Jets are the first ones in line to want to interview him. So I don't know what to think about that. I really, man, I don't want to start all over again with another defensive coordinator, but I mean, if Robert Saleh doesn't get a job that he wants, do they just insert Robert Saleh into that position? So I mean, it's a thought. But when it comes to other coaches, I think guys that they need to move on from that are carryovers from the previous coaching staff. Rebrovich, I think he needs to go. The defensive line needs a new set of eyes on it, in my opinion. I know that you addressed the whole Bisaccia thing, but I was in favor of them hiring him, but I'm kind of over it. I don't see, for what they're paying him and his reputation of trying to make a big turnaround in this, I don't think he can take credit for Whelan, and I don't think he can take credit for McManus. Those guys are an individual that their skills are in their leg, and there might be a little bit of coaching around that to make them a better kicker. But I think it's all about preparation of coverage, kickoffs, schemes, blocking schemes, and for them to get caught with their pants down against Chicago. I told my son before that ever happened, I said, Chicago is going to do everything they can, even trick plays when it comes to kickoffs and all that. They're going to run trick plays, and you just watch. They will do something. And sure enough, they did.
Yeah.
So, Sachi is another one that I'd be okay with them going. So, just my 2 cents. So, have a good one, Ryan.
I kind of doubt it. Well, good call on Rebrovich, by the way. That officially is done. Some really exciting names went over that on the podcast yesterday, I believe, for defensive line coach. But there's a rumor that I doubt happens, but would kind of solve some problems for us, that Rich Bisaccia is somewhat of a potential name for the Dallas head coaching job. So, I mean, look, I'd be happy for him. I mean, he's done a lot of work for a long time. I think he kind of fits that whole leadership role, kind of a head coachy type of guy. He's going to need a good offensive and defensive coordinator there, I think, to help him. But, kind of do that Dan Campbell role. But also, could see if we can find a fresh set of eyes for our special teams unit. I wouldn't hate that either. Might be a way out because I can't imagine they're going to fire him. I don't think that they're going to. But if he were to get hired away, then, kind of solves itself there a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Ron, what's up?
What's up, Ryan? Hey, Ron from Eau Claire. So Tucker Kraft and people like Josh Jacobs and maybe a few others have been kind of talking about in their post-season interviews, talking about this season, we were able to see what some people have, and it seems like they're kind of wording it in a way where it's like,
yes,
it's kind of like we're not happy with some of the players in this locker room or whatever. And just a speculation, but I wonder if something like the Romeo Dobbs thing was in that category where it's like, he just didn't feel like coming to work for whatever reason. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was a situation where they were, supportive of him and felt like whatever personal thing was going on in his life, that it was something that they could, be there for him and all that stuff and move on from. Maybe it wasn't him at all, but maybe players like that who did that kind of thing were what they're talking about. Or maybe it's just the play on the field, which I think Romeo Dobbs had pretty good play on the field for a lot of the season. So I don't know. But it seems like Tucker Kraft and Josh Jacobs and maybe Xavier McKinney, I don't know. But those leaders, the good guys on the team, are really kind of hinting at something that needs to be fixed, I think. I feel like there's probably discussions happening in some of those circles where some of those types of players are noticing lack of effort or something like that in other players, or just wrong attitudes or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, whatever that is, I wonder if they should have cut Romeo Dobbs, and if that would have been a more effective way to send a message that, hey, we're not going to tolerate stuff like this. But, I mean, we obviously don't know what the situation was, so I'm not trying to sit here and crap all over Romeo Dobbs by any stretch. I'm not saying anything negative about him. But I wonder if there's certain things that the organization put up with that some players weren't happy with. That's just my guess. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
I mean, they're certainly talking about somebody, I think Jair is the one that immediately comes to mind, although I don't know that that's entirely the case or fair. I think if I had to guess the situation with Jair, I think that he is very angry at the mismanagement of his injury. The guy's a competitor. I think he actually, really is, unlike what we're talking about, which is not wanting to play. I think he really does want to play. I think he wants to be the best. I think he wants to be the greatest. And he's angry, and understandably so. Look at what they did. They should have shut him down a long time ago, and he could have been back by the time that this was all said and done. Instead, they keep putting him out there, keep practicing, keep seeing how it's going to go. Let's just wait and see. And then he ends up getting shut down right as the playoffs start. It's just stupid. So, yeah, he's saying, I don't know if I'm going to be back next year, and, I got nothing good to say. He's probably not coming back, but I don't think it's necessarily that. Although, I mean, it could still be. It could be, you're not fine if you don't want to play for us, then you're not going to be a part of it, whatever. But, again, they are talking about somebody, and Romeo definitely would be another very, very good guess as to who or, the type of person that they're talking about. But all will be revealed soon enough. All right, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Survived the technical issues well enough to get this thing rocking and rolling. So you guys have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.